Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Linda Lang.
Hi, this is Linda Lang from thoughtchange.com, and you are exploring the mystical side of life this week with me and my guest, Terry J. Terry is an intuitive, a medium, and a pet psychic. Welcome, Terry.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
This is your life, and this is the gift that you're bringing to us and in service of creation. How did you discover your abilities?
Well, I was doing horseback therapy with disabled kids back in 1990. I love horses. I'm a horse nut. And so doing horseback therapy, it really embraced my two loves of helping disabled kids and at the same time working with horses all day. So it was really, oh God, it was just pure heaven. And I picked the kid up out of his wheelchair and put him on the back of one of my horses. And he said, ouch, I have a cramp in my hip. And I looked at him, I said, you have a cramp? Well, here, sit this way, it'll take the cramp out. And he said, hey, you can hear me. And I said, well, of course I can hear you. It didn't dawn on me at the time that he was completely nonverbal. So then the suggestion was made to learn to communicate with the horses. And one thing's led to another. And now I know there's no limits to this ability, and everybody has them. They just need to develop them.
I've heard how healing horse therapy is, working with horses, how it just connects you to such a deep state of peace and centeredness and calmness. Mm-hmm. What other gifts can we embrace?
The biggest message they send us is unconditional love. I think that's why animals are in our lives, is to teach us about unconditional love and for us to have unconditional love for others. We're often too divided and too judgmental about everything, even little stuff that doesn't make any difference. And so I think that it's the biggest gift that animals give us is that understanding of unconditional love. It's amazing what they do and how they impact us if we allow for it.
I totally agree. We have so much to learn from the animal kingdom.
Absolutely. Horses are such partners with us, and they love their jobs. You can't force a horse to do something it doesn't want to do. And they just enrich our lives so much. They're just as competitive as their riders sometimes.
Oh, that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah. When I was out feeding my horses this morning, I just lost a horse this weekend. And my Duchess horse was telling me all about it, that Maggie's still running around and that Maggie feels so much better. And that she saw her running and bucking and farting and playing, and that it was really a good thing. And she was reassuring me that Maggie is okay, which I thought was just precious. And she had to give me a facial at the same time. It's so gross. It's on my webpage on my little video that I have on there. And she just has to give you kisses all over your whole face. It's hilarious.
Well, I think that's a beautiful message, a comforting message to anyone who's lost a pet or a human loved one, because that's really it, isn't it? No body, but free.
Right. But I think we miss out, Linda, on the fact that we're 99% energy. We're only 1% physical. I mean, we're these energy beings running around in meat suits. We really are. So when we lose the meat suit, we return to being pure positive energy. And I think one of the other differences that I have from some other mediums is some of them will tune into the negative energy garbage that's left behind when someone passes. And it looks like, feels like, and sounds like the deceased. So they assume that they're somehow stuck or haven't crossed over or need help crossing over. And all of that is total BS. It's total BS. Everybody goes to the other side immediately. And again, we have to think of the physics aspect of it: energy, frequency, vibration. So if you think of source energy or God energy as the highest positive vibration, then only those things that are a vibrational match can go to the other side. So all the garbage gets left behind. And people will tune into it and assume it's the deceased, and it's not. I mean, people have written books about unfinished business and regrets, and that's all just total BS. Total BS.
So that's actually really interesting, Terry. Are you saying that there's like an energy pattern that's not conscious? So it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't belong to that person, but maybe it's like an old tape that's playing.
I like to call it garbage. I really like to call it garbage. People get so hung up on a tragic death, like they died horribly or they died tragically, and they stay sort of rooted on the tragicness of the death. And the person is bebopping around like a crazy person having a blast, and they're still staying rooted in that negativity of the death itself. And it's just not like that.
So what about things like ghosts or hauntings?
Don't get me going. Don't get me going. What cracks me up is when they have these ghost shows and they say, um, why are you stuck? Why haven't you crossed over? And when they're doing those long, drawn out sentences, they've missed the answer. If they're really connected to something, the answer comes over the top of your question. So if you want to have a conversation with an animal or a human on the other side, it sounds like this. In your head, all in your head, it sounds like, did you, oh, what about, oh, we, oh, shit, oh. You don't even get to finish your thought because it's all telepathic. And we all are telepathic. We just turn it off. It's pretty interesting that you can get it if you hurry, if you listen quickly and don't get into ego.
Lightning speed, right?
Yes. Are there spirits? Oh, heck yes. Oh my goodness. I have coffee with my mom every morning. She's been gone a year and a half. My horse is nudging me when I'm sitting at my desk now. And my dog right now has his head on my leg. So they're always here. They never leave. The other side is just a different frequency. That's all it is.
And it doesn't mean they're lost.
They're not lost. They're not gone. They're right here. They're happy. We're not keeping them from something. And the interesting thing is, it's like when somebody first passes, it's like we can feel them and sense them. But after a while, we get so sucked down by grief that our vibration goes down and we think they've left when really it's us. We've dropped our vibration, so we can't sense them anymore. Isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting. So I'm curious, Terry, if you have any suggestions for people who have lost loved ones or pets on how to keep their vibration higher and not to really sink into grief. I know that, you're human, you have these emotions, you need to process them,
Yes, absolutely. But
just
I
not
think
get
that
stuck in them.
that's the key though, Linda, is set aside 20 minutes to grieve. Cry, scream, yell, journal, sling snot, whatever you need to do in that 20 minutes. But then follow that 20 minutes with something fun and silly, like watch a silly movie, have a hot fudge sundae, do something really fun and good. And then that way you don't hardwire your brain for grief.
And do you think our pets and our loved ones come to visit us even when we're not thinking about them?
Absolutely. They're not gone. That's what it almost made it harder when my mom passed. It almost made it harder for me because I grieved, but then it was like she was bugging me all the time for stuff. She always wants me to buy 2-bite brownies to have with my coffee. I don't want them. I'm trying to lose weight. And she'll be in the store with me and go, get those. Mom, no. So she's around all the time and it's fun, silly, good stuff.
Well, I know that periodically from the corner of my eye, I'll see one of my past cats,
Mm-hmm.
walk by. So I know that he's around and, we loved him immensely while he was alive with us. And I like your perspective because I do feel like, these dimensions are just kind of out of phase. in the
Yeah,
same spot, just out of phase.
right. But the other thing too is it feels to me like your cat that passed did a walk-in into one of your other cats. Their spirit can walk in and then they
Yeah.
just share the physical form beautifully. They just do that. They do
Mm,
it all the time.
lovely,
So I
lovely.
know if I go pick up a horse, another horse, that my horse is going to walk into that horse. And then their personality changes. I even have a horse, the one I told you about that gives the lovely facials. I really believe on some level it's my friend Linda who passed because she's just too weird. She does unhorsey things. She does human things. You know what I mean? She
Oh,
does
yes.
zippers and Velcro and she's weird. And you can, to get her to move, you take your finger and you just sort of say, can you pick up this foot like this? Can you pick up this foot? And she'll pick her foot up and hold it up so you can clean the shavings out from underneath her. Horses don't do that. They just don't do that. That's just too weird.
We had a cat once that we thought was half human because this cat, if someone got up from the table, this cat would sit in that person's chair the second they left, and they would just sit there
Mhm.
proper as if they were total human. We've not ever had another cat that would be like that.
I know, they're just amazing, the things that they teach us. They really are. And animal communication is so easy and we screw it up. Oh my goodness. It's so easy to learn to do. They give us visual images, taste, smell, sounds, feelings, and often words. Animals can have huge vocabularies. They really can.
So, how would you suggest people start opening that door so they could actually communicate with their living pets or
Or their
ones who've
animal on the other
crossed?
side, sure.
Yeah.
The techniques that I have in my book really, really, really dissect it so that you can't screw it up. The most important thing is to set your intention. And then the next thing is to ground yourself. And I have techniques for grounding if people need those. And then the next thing is get out of your own way. Don't have any preconceived notions about what you're going to hear. And then just listen, but listen faster than you normally would to a regular conversation. That's the only thing that people mess up on, is it gets stuff really fast flying into their head and they go, well, that can't be right. And that is right. That is the stuff that's right.
Or they
So,
start to think about it and then they add their own perspective in.
right. And that's where ego comes in. I always think of ego as easing God out, so that we need to not be an ego and to not have a need to be right. Oh my goodness. If you have a need to be right when you're doing this work, you're going to screw up. You'll get wrong information. You really will. So, I mean, there's been times when I've argued with my guides about information, about relaying information, and they said, tell her, tell her, tell her, tell her. And it's like, well, that's not right. I know that's not right. And they go, tell her anyway. I go, all right. So I tell them, and 2-3 weeks later, I get a call or an email, and it says, remember that reading you did for us? I went, oh, yeah, you were the one I was told the wrong information to. And they went, you knew it was wrong? And I said, yep. I said, so you had a good outcome? You aren't going to believe it. And then they tell me this wonderful positive outcome they had from me giving them the wrong information. So you can't judge it. If you're given that information and you're told by guidance, share that information, it's not up to you to decide if it's okay or not.
That's good advice for all of us, I think, because we don't have the foresight to really know the big picture, really.
Exactly, exactly.
So, Terry, what happens to an animal's spirit if they're being euthanized?
I encourage my clients to stay with their animals so that they can have the opportunity to feel that animal go through them. And like I said, it's a joygasm. It's incredible when you can feel that energy go through you. And what happens to them is they go to sleep for 10 to 90 seconds, depending on their overall health or quality. And then their spirit pops out of their body and they kind of do the wet dog shake, like, oh, that felt weird. And they're instantly bananas, just like they were when they were puppies or kitties or colts, and full of piss and vinegar and running around. If you do it at the vet's office, they'll beat you home. If you do it at home, then they just race around like a crazy animal. and they're just totally, absolutely at peace. There isn't any of the negativity that you see in movies or television, like, oh, there's my body. Okay, how come I'm not in it? This feels awful. There's none of that. And most animals, even if they die tragically, they don't remember how they got out of their body. And they certainly don't remember any of the pain or suffering. And we do. Oh my God, we get so hung up on their tragic death. And we need to move past that because it's not where they are.
And, that's something we'll all be doing.
Of course.
We're alive, so we'll have that bridge to cross at some point. And I think now's the perfect time to start to adopting the belief that the passing can be easy, joyful, and it's a gift of freedom and, of course, connection with the divine.
Absolutely. It's amazing. It's just amazing. I've had so many people on the other side that I've done readings for because I am a medium too. And so many people have said, this is incredible. You just can't believe it. It's amazing. And there's never anybody who goes, shoot, I died. Not one person. Not one person. Gosh darn it. I didn't want to be dead. Not one. So amazing for them.
I've taken many healing trainings in my day, and in one of them, we did an exercise where we relived our birth, and then we did an exercise where we, let's say, imagined our worst possible death and our best death.
Oh my
And
goodness.
let me tell you that the birth was more difficult
Yes,
than our worst death.
absolutely. Absolutely. And people don't realize how traumatic it is.
Well, we have all this freedom and this creative power. We still have it in human form, but we're in this little body that we can't control, and we need
Right.
people to look after us. It was a really interesting experience.
That sounds fascinating. It really does.
So, Terry, I'm a little bit curious. We talk about humans and a reincarnation cycle. Do animals also get reincarnated?
Oh, absolutely. And it's sometimes when I'm doing a grief counseling session for a pet owner that's lost their pet, and I tell them, I go, well, he wants to come back, and he wants to come back right away. So he's probably going to do a walk-in where their spirit walks into whatever physical form you bring home. And they'll even cuss at me, oh, that's BS, and I don't believe you, and that's wrong. And then a couple of weeks later, they call me and go, we found our dog in its new body. And they're just so overjoyed that they have the same dog, same personality back in a new physical form, and they're just ecstatic. So they always reincarnate. I think what's important for people to remember is, again, this is physics, so it's energy. And so you can put 10 spirits into one body. You can take one spirit and divide it into 10 bodies. So the only rule with it is, with God, all things are possible. But our animals always try to reincarnate. And just like I was talking about before, I really think one of my horses is my friend Linda, who passed. And so cats can be dogs can be cats, or horses, or whatever. They can always come back to you. They just need to go find a new physical form, and it happens to be one that you're going to pick up.
So you're not ever really alone.
No, never. I felt so bad for all of the people who died of COVID alone, and for their loved ones who were saying, oh, they died alone. No, they didn't. They did not, because everybody from the other side would come to be with them in their moment of passing. They would be totally surrounded by their loved ones from the other side. Animals too. You never die alone. That's the most beautiful thing. But what people miss in passing when animals pass is, I just went through it twice, is their energy goes through you. Their energy goes through you. And the only way I can describe it is as a joygasm, because it's rushes and rushes of joy up and down your body. And I get kind of embarrassed because I have to tell the veterinarians that are going to euthanize my animals, okay, I'm going to be gasping, and it's going to sound really weird because my animals usually go through me. So I don't want you to think I'm having a heart attack. It's just the animal's energy going through me. And the vets always go, that was weird. And I go, well, you should feel for it, because it's incredible, because we just feel rushes and rushes of joy all up and down our body when they leave. It's incredible. And it makes you feel so good and positive about ending their life, which ends their suffering. So it's such a blessing to be able to experience that with them.
Well, you mentioned earlier that the kind of number one message that you get from animals is about unconditional love.
Absolutely. People are born powerful. We're born powerful. And little by little, people take our power and they teach us that we're worthless, and we accept that. And so by the time we hit puberty, we feel like worthless pieces of garbage. It's, I think, why the teenage years are so difficult, because we feel so terrible about who and how we are. So when we get animals into our lives and those animals accept us and love us, no matter if we've got makeup on, our hair is done, we're stinky, it doesn't matter. They just love us no matter what. They want to be with us. They want to spend time with us. And if we really listen, they can teach us of our worth. They can actually teach us that we are a worthwhile human being. And I think that that's one of the things that they can do to us if we allow for it. They're such incredible healers. You know, they teach us to heal ourselves.
That's a beautiful, beautiful message.
And for people that have felt they've been disempowered, this really easy technique is amazing. You think of who disempowered you, write them a letter, tell them off, and then you burn the letter. And that's really important to do it. You burn the letter and you say out loud, nobody's ever going to treat me like that again. And it takes your power back. And it's incredible how it's a very simple thing. It's maybe not so easy because we have to dig deep into those emotions. But when we burn it, we're actually changing and transmuting that negative energy. It's so cool.
So before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, if you want to learn how to do it, get my book. It will teach you how to do it. It's The Cowgirl Shaman Way, 7 Easy Steps to Develop Your Intuitive Ability. And it's available on Amazon, and it's also available on my website at www.terrijay.com. It's fun, it's silly, it's got lots of stories in it. You'll hear my voice in the book. I have everybody tell me that. They go, God, it just sounds just like you. Well, it is. I wrote it in my own voice. And it's really helped an awful lot of people. And it works. I love teaching people how to use their abilities that they were born with.
Because we all have ability.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for the work that you do, Terry.
I'm honored. I'm really honored. It's such a humbling experience to be able to have these abilities and then be able to share them with everyone.
Perfect. So thanks again for being my guest. If you enjoyed this week's episode of Exploring the Mystical Side of Life, please make sure you like, comment, and share. Subscribe to the channel. You'll find us on YouTube, iTunes, Anchor.fm, Spotify. Come and visit me at thoughtchange.com and pick up your copy of Learning to Listen. That's it for this week. Bye for now. Thanks for exploring the mystical side of life with us. Remember to like, comment, and share, and please subscribe.